Hi everyone, let's keep going with JavaScript. So what is JavaScript? Well, it's another coding language, but it's a bit of a different language to some of the common ones, such as C and Python, because it by default runs in your browser instead of locally on your machine through the terminal. But it can add even more flair to our HTML and CSS. But let's kind of see how it interacts with the browser. We had this thinking before as well with CSS, right? Where do we put our CSS? Well, let's figure that out now. Here's my HTML page, and yep, I've just cleaned it up so that it's a bit emptier in here and in here as well. So we know for CSS, we made a new file. We're going to do the same for the JavaScript. So I'm just going to make a file. Cool. And so for CSS as well, we used to have something like a link here. We're going to do something similar for the JavaScript. For that, we use the script tag. And we set the attribute for source equal to the file name, which is jsdemo.js. Amazing. So this has immediately connected our JavaScript file to the HTML. Cool. Now let's have a go at writing some JavaScript. Since we've linked our HTML page to the JavaScript, this means that all our JS output from any like printing and all that will appear on the web page. And so if we, let's kind of treat JavaScript as a coding language for now, before we kind of look at it as in the context of making web pages, because it can actually be used outside of creating HTML, CSS pages as well. So the main coding concepts in JavaScript are really similar to everything else, like making variables and doing arithmetic. But the first thing we love to do with coding languages is to print hello world. So let's do that. In JavaScript, we don't have print or print statements. We have something called a console, and we log things there. So we have a console, and we want to access its logging functionality. To do that, we put a dot, and then we say log for the logging functionality. And it's a function, I know of that. So I put a bracket. And let's inside, let's say hello world. Cool. Let's jump back here. So we expected it to be blank because I deleted all the rest of the stuff. And it should be blank because we should right click and click inspect to actually see it because we put it in the console. I dragged my whole thing over a bit and I've made it a bigger page. So that's why it's very big on the screen. But let's click on the console. Awesome. We have hello world right here, just as we expected. Cool. So that is how you do printing in JavaScript. And now the rest of JavaScript is similar to other coding languages. And we're assuming that this isn't your first coding language, but if it is, it's definitely worth doing something like Code Academy on JavaScript. I found that really useful. Or you can chat to me if you want to know all the basics as well. But one thing I just recall is that when you're declaring variables in JavaScript, there are 3 ways to do it. You can use the keyword var, and so we have the variable name my variable1, and let's say that's equal to 1. Equal to 1. But this isn't used too much just because it's a bit of an old way of doing things, and we have 2 better ways. which is using the keyword let for the first example. And let's equal that to 2, as well as the keyword const. Cool. Now, what's the difference between these two? Well, for the let keyword, if I want to change what that variable holds, right now it holds a 2, I can easily go my variable 2 and say it's a 3. However, for a const variable, I am not allowed to do that. Let me change it, but it should actually, all these variables declared by const should actually always be the same throughout the whole code. You should not be able to change it. And if you see on the console, you get an error. So it's saying, I'm trying to assign to a constant variable. You should not be doing that. Cool. The rest of the stuff, like the arithmetic, while loops, making arrays, and strings, are all pretty much the same way it kind of works. Just a little bit of syntax changing just to get used to. And one thing though I reckon that is a little bit different or new is this concept of objects. And so let's go through that. Oh, I'm writing comment now. It's just / to make to make comments. Cool. So objects are a variable, and so I can say let something. Let's just say a person as an object, and it's a variable, so you can use that keyword. And it's denoted by curly brackets. Cool. So we have an empty object right now. And an object is a variable, but it stores other variables inside it. So what I can do is give the other variable, let's say name, and store something inside it. So maybe my name is Winnie. Another one, age. Oh, I'm 20. And I have to make sure to separate by commas, otherwise it's a big error. And maybe my eye color, let's say, it's like dark brown, so I'll just say black for now. Cool. So these inner variables, they're called properties. And the name of the property, so name, age, eye color, they're called the keys, while these ones are the values, so the actual data. It's a lot like the CSS we saw, which should help you ring a bell and make you feel familiar. But yeah, these are key value pairs. And so we have this awesome object now. How do I kind of access the word Winnie? How do I now interact with the object? Well, let me just make a new variable, and I'm gonna try and so let's just say name variable. And I'm gonna try and make it equal to Winnie. How do I do that? Well, I want to let it equal to the person, but not the whole person, not this whole object, just the name. And how do I access just a bit of it? I use the dot, kind of like what we did with the console. And then I specify name because that's what I want. Cool. Seeing that we used it for console, you can kind of see that console is also an object. It's a kind of built-in object in JavaScript. Cool. And so let's console.log this name variable to double check we get Winnie. Perfect. We do get Winnie right here. So that's how you access the properties so the variables inside, the properties inside an object. A cool thing is that you can also make functions inside an object. So functions are really great because they are kind of collect a bunch of code together to make it less repetitive if you reuse that code, or to abstract or make it just more organized, your code in general. So how do we do that? Remembering to put a comma every time. And so let's make the function greeting. And so to do that, we give the keyword function and 2 brackets. We can put parameters here too, and then curly brackets as well. And so I want to return just a string that says, hi, my name is Winnie. So I'm going to say, hi, my name is, and I'm going to say plus Winnie. But how do I can't say name, can I? No. So how do I access the variables within the object? I need to write the keyword this, and then I can do dot name. Cool. So yep, it just takes everything, it just takes it here when you specify this keyword. Cool. And so let's just make a new variable called let greeting for my name. So greeting Win or greeting Winnie. Let's let that equal to person. And how do we access the components or properties and all that in here? We do a dot, and then we use what we want, greeting. But this time, it's not a variable, so it's a function. And we put the 2 brackets. Cool. So these are no longer variables like we said, they're called properties. And this is not really a function, it's called a method. Just a bit of terminology. Awesome. So now we have the greeting. We expect it to be, hi, my name is Winnie. Let's console.log to see if we're right. So let me just do that. Let's refresh. Hi, my name is Winnie. Perfect. Oh, spacing. I need to do a space, and then it should be perfect. Rookie mistake. Perfect. Now that's what we're looking for. Cool. So objects are really powerful, and they're really neat and really good at organizing stuff. Awesome. So we have objects and the main ways to declare variables. Everything else is really similar to other basic coding languages. And so, yeah, to summarize, objects just group lots of, they're like a collection, yeah, of data. Cool. And I guess we saw functions in within an object, but if we want to do normal functions, oh, let me just go backwards. Okay, maybe I'll just zoom in here. So one way we can do that is we kind of create a function by giving it a name, kind of how we create a variable. So we say let add equals the function. So we use the keyword function. X, Y are parameters. And of course, to add, we do X plus Y. So when we call the function, we would probably be saying like add and then like 5, 7. Oh, not add that, but just add. Add 5, 7, and it should return 12 for us if we use this function. There's another way to write functions though, and it's like this. So you don't use the keyword function, you still use the parameters, but you use an arrow instead for and then you put the rest of it. So it's just a bit more compact way of doing things, and they're exactly the same. But it's just, yeah, a bit more compact, and it is a bit limited and can't be used in all situations. Cool. Let me move on.